talking about a rated R movie.
Yeah.
No, Jessica dropped the C word the other day.
Oh, did I?
Oh, yeah. What were we talking about? We were talking about the Neon Demon, and I was talking about how I didn't like how the one fashion guy who's really up his own ass was treating Gigi.
Yeah.
And you were like, but she's a...
Oh, shit.
Sure. Welcome, everyone, to the Streaming Screams podcast. I am Glenn. I am here with Jessica.
Hello.
For the first time, we have a special guest. So I would like to introduce you all to film podcaster Patrick Michael of Have Cheetah Will View.
Awesome.
Welcome.
Glad to see you guys again.
Yeah,
it's good to see you. It's actually been quite a while at this point. When did we do the interview? Do you remember?
I think your interview with me was my 464th or 5th, and I'm up to 552 now. So It's been a while.
Man, really going at it. That's great. How's it all been going?
It's about ready to hit it's about ready to hit summertime, so it's gonna be a little bit more of a struggle to find movie guests, producers and directors. So I'll probably be leaning back into more interviewing more podcasters, more reviewers. So we'll stay busy during the summer.
Very cool. Why don't you tell us how you got into this?
Wow.
Sorry, if you don't mind me throwing a few basic interview questions your way.
No, not at all. It's ironic. It's ironic you asked me that question, and during the movie we'll be talking about. But I started my channel. It came from my blog called Have Cheetah Will View, and I started it when my wife got sick. And I started writing a blog just sharing what we're going through. And unfortunately, in 2013, she passed away. So, but I just kept on writing. I kept on writing. And after a while, I thought, well, people they're gonna get tired of, how long can you watch somebody, with a broken heart talk? So I went ahead and started a YouTube channel. Then I decided, I'm going to go ahead and try to do some movies. I'm a good reviewer. And my friend Sean Kane, who's also a fine director and a editor, he encouraged me to do that. And so I watched and reviewed my first film called Jurassic City. And off I went. And we've been doing movie reviews, maybe about a year into it. I started doing interviews, 8 Questions With. And that is, I interviewed about 130 people, and then I started my YouTube channel, and I just transferred the interviews from my blog to my YouTube channel.
Rad. Nice. And then that's the program that we were on, God, probably a year ago at this point, huh?
Between the 130 on my blog and the 552 on the video, so we've done quite a few.
I didn't know that the origins of everything were rough. I'm sorry to hear that, but I am glad that you stuck with it because we've had fun with our interactions with you, man.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a really good show. And I'm glad you guys reached out. In fact, to tell you the truth, I've done a lot of, I call home and away with podcasters, where I've had them come on my show, and then I'll go on their show. And you're really the first ones who reached out to honor their half of it. I've had about 11 or 12 different podcasts that they never invited me back onto the show.
Oh, no.
So it's a risk you take, though. You don't chase after it. You just if they don't want to do it, they don't want to do it.
Yeah.
You put this movie on our radar, so
yeah,
felt like it fit.
Yeah, we would not have done this movie if it wasn't for being on your show. So when it got to this point on our list, we were like, hey man, let's get him on the show, see what he has to say about this, because it was a crazy experience. Yeah. I
try to tell everybody that it's like watch the movie. It's a movie you'll be absolutely hooked, but you won't really necessarily want to watch it again. Not unless you have friends. You got to have friends to watch it again.
Yeah.
So that way you can watch their reaction and not necessarily watch the movie. I was shocked at how much this affected me. Like when I watched the screener that I got from Cinephobia Releasing. I've seen lots of movies. I've seen thousands of movies. I've seen them, and it's very rare that a movie will get into my head like that. And It had me. I have to admit, I almost lost my lunch.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get sick.
Yeah.
And then a few months later, I got the DVD. I went and rewatched it, and I don't know why, but I did. I rewatched it. I'm like, okay, I watched it the first time. I'm immune. No, same thing, same reaction. Just absolutely brilliant film. It was my number one film last year.
Yeah, nice.
It was really good. I was very surprised at how much I enjoyed it. And, we should probably introduce the movie before we go on.
Sure.
We are in the middle of discussing 2022's The Coffee Table.
Nope, he's got it.
Unfortunately, we're not. We don't have a video component to ours. We're just audio for now.
Okay. Well, I'm holding up the DVD copy that I got for our friend Ray Murray,
nice,
who owns Stenophobia releasing. So this is a copy of the DVD, and the copy, the cover of the DVD fits perfectly with the movie.
Yeah.
It's a perfect cover.
It's actually drawn by the director.
Oh, really?
He's an illustrator.
I always have a hard time with this. It's K. Caius, I think it is.
Yeah.
K. Caius.
K. Casus?
Yeah, it all depends. I guess it all depends how if you pronounce it Spanish. It could be Caius. Because I think their C's are pronounced with an H.
Well, any of our longtime listeners are going to be very familiar with me butchering literally every name involved in this movie. Because I am not, I only speak English, and I can't even get those names right. So, yeah. What was the first foreign language film that we did it was atrocious.
I don't know what the first one we did was.
Oh God, it was brutal how bad I was at it. Though.
Was it Evil Lurks? When Evil Lurks?
Yes, it was When Evil Lurks, and oh my God, it took me like half an hour to get through
the names.
Yeah, and I wasn't even doing character summaries yet. Oh man, it was brutal.
That's a brilliant movie too, right there.
Oh yeah,
really good. I really liked that. It was very narrow. But Coffee Table, I knew with the Coffee Table when I saw it, I knew it. I knew it was going to be my number one. But I got to admit, when Evil Lurks, they made a run at it.
Yeah.
Very underrated.
Yeah. I mean, I personally was blown away by that one. Mm-hmm. This one surprised me in a very different way. I will get this right out of the way. I thought, because I didn't know anything about it going in.
Yeah, I watched it, and then I told him, don't look anything up about it. Just watch it.
Yeah. So I was honestly expecting it to be something kind of silly in like the Christine vein, like a haunted coffee table.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I was not expecting it to be this. So it was quite a surprise.
Well, it's funny because the reason it's called The Coffee Table is not. I mean, obviously the plot revolves around a coffee table, but the director's first movie was called Killing God. And because Spain is a very Catholic country, they couldn't get any distributors for it. So they wanted a really non-assuming sounding name.
Something almost generic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were like the board who distributes whatever, who decides that. They didn't even watch the movie. They just saw Killing God and were like, nope.
Yeah.
So he's like, okay, well, we'll get a really mundane name.
Yeah, which we should probably just real quick give a little bit of a warning, because there is a bit of an extreme element here in that the movie is going to revolve around the death of a baby. The gruesome death of a baby. So if that bums you out, you should listen anyway, or you can come back for the next episode.
That's right. Bambi versus Godzilla. Next.
Fantastic film. Best 30 seconds ever put to celluloid. 2022's The Coffee Table, written by Kay Casis and Chris Borobia, directed by Kay Casis. We have got Estefania de los Santos as Maria. She is Jesus's wife. A new mother who is going through a rough patch with her husband. Exhausted from dealing with all of the stuff that a new mother has to deal with, she is extremely frustrated with her husband, who she seems to find childish and incompetent. She is also domineering and kind of controlling, refusing to let her husband make any real decisions, including having any input for the name of their new baby, a major source of contention at the start of the movie and really throughout the movie.
It is funny how much he hates the name.
Yeah, I would love to know like what the name actually means, like why it's such a bad name.
Okay,
because other people in the movie kind of like make a face when they tell them too.
Yeah, so the reason is so the director K is short for Caetano.
Caetano?
It's the director's name.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
That's
so he was just shitting on himself?
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love it. We've got...
Maybe it's this way of self-punishing himself for saying God is dead.
Yeah, maybe.
God, I'm sorry. I'm cutting my head off.
Yeah.
We've got David Pareja as Jesus, Maria's husband. He is dealing with the stuff a new father has to deal with, but he also feels stifled by Maria. He feels that she never lets him make any decisions, to the point where he thinks Caetano, the name that she unilaterally gave their new son, is, quote, stupid and ugly. Fed up with never getting a say in anything, he has decided that he is going to get the coffee table he wants, even if his wife thinks it's ugly and tacky and doesn't trust the salesman. At this point, he is just going to die on the first hill he comes across. And boy, oh boy, is he going to die on that hill. Yeah. We've got Claudia Riera. We've got Claudia Riera as Christina, Carlos's newly pregnant 18-year-old vegan partner. She is excited to be pregnant and wants her future daughter to be friends with her cousin Caetano. She seems friendly enough, but is just trying to figure out what is going on as Jesus and eventually Carlos act weirder and weirder. We've got Jose Maria Riera as Carlos, Jesus' brother and Christina's partner. He is irresponsible, having knocked up an 18-year-old, but is very excited to be a dad and is very concerned about his brother's suspicious behavior. We've got Gayla Flores as Ruth, a delusional 13-year-old girl who lives in the same apartment building. She is constantly hitting on Jesus and demanding that he leave his wife for her, threatening to frame him for pedophilia if he doesn't, which is kind of funny because if he does, that would also be pedophilia.
The thing with Ruth, the relationship that he has with Ruth, and then we find out Ruth's mother, I really liked how Caius introduced them. It's a really zig and a zag. I mean, you're seeing that. If you hear people say, I guess this is a point of contention for me. Is like this is considered a dark comedy.
Yeah.
And I like a good joke as well as anybody else. I think the team marketed it as a dark comedy to help pass it through. But honestly, other than Ruth, was little, and then again, it's like you think Ruth and her interactions is cute, but really they're not so cute.
No.
And I did not find any humor in this movie. I found it to be so dark that you need a blowtorch to find your way out more than a foot in front of you. It's absolutely a bleak and dark movie. I'm still confused about the comedy part of it. Well, what about you guys?
I personally actually did find a lot of aspects funny.
It's all in the dialogue and the juxtaposition of things.
Well, at a certain point after the big inciting incident, this whole movie becomes the classic bit where somebody is trying to hide something and the situation just keeps getting ratcheted up, more full of people who keep accidentally stumbling on the secret. The comedy just comes in how much that pressure really escalates and how is he going to keep the secret? They chose a really amazingly dark vehicle for that, but there are a lot of moments where somebody almost finds the baby's head or somebody just happens to say something that is really, if they knew, would be totally inappropriate for the situation. So I did find myself laughing here and there. Sometimes it was a little too dark for me to laugh even when I recognized a joke, but there were a few times. What about you, Jess?
Well, there was like the paper towel thing when they show her at the grocery store. It's right after the head gets cut off, and then it's all like super absorbent paper towels in aisle 6.
Right, and she's picking out red wine at the same time. Yeah, there's a lot of irony like that I do find very funny.
It's like subtle. If you're not like trying to find it, it's not. It's easy to miss.
I definitely feel like the scene in the supermarket where she's there and talking to her neighbor and what have you, and you're right about the paper towels and the wine, but it flashes back and forth between her and Jesus, and I it was just like I think for me, the way that he filmed it with the father. Just I was saying this to my fellow cinephile pal Al Descartes. I was sitting there saying how you could see the sanity slip out. When the child died, you could also see the sanity escape the house at the same time. When he's sitting there and he's on his knees and he's just sitting there with his hands, he can't do or say anything. He checked out.
Yeah.
He was gone before the wife came home. There was no buildup. He was done.
Yeah.
He was just absolutely done. It was just a matter of seeing how it was going to resolve. He knew how it was. He just wants to see how they did it.
What would have been interesting is if I hadn't seen that it was listed as a dark comedy, would I have actually found anything funny?
Yeah.
Because as soon as the inciting incident with the table happens, the first thought in my head was, holy shit. And then the second one was, there's no way this is actually going to be a funny movie. But, that puts me in the frame of mind where I'm already like analyzing it, looking for the gags.
Sure.
Good times. And then finally, we've got Eduardo and... Jesus. We've got Eduardo Antuña as the salesman, or I think he's listed as the vendor. He is a sleazy salesman who seems to have the hots for Jesus.
Everybody does in this movie.
Everybody wants to bang Jesus. It is so weird. I don't know what the beauty standards are in Spain, so I can't speak to that. But it is weird that the girl wants him. Her mom seems to want him. This random salesman is, checking out his ass and asking him out on a date.
It's not like he's suave or anything. So it is odd.
Yeah, through half of these interactions, he's nearly catatonic.
Yeah. I do think the salesperson is kind of comedic relief. Anytime he's there, because he's just so awkward.
Yes.
And even the opening scene, he seems cartoonish.
Yeah, I mean, telling them that the glass table is unbreakable.
Yeah.
Also, the table itself has these absurdities. Apparently it's ivory, but then gold plated.
Yeah.
Why would you do that?
It's the tactics you can get. It's like Gardner White furniture.
Yeah. Yeah. It is ridiculous. Jesus and Maria and their newborn I'm going to fuck this up every time. Jesus and Maria and their newborn Cayetano are furniture shopping, looking at a coffee table. Jesus and Maria are clearly having difficulties in their marriage. The coffee table that they are looking at is one that Jesus loves, but Maria absolutely hates. And the salesman is giving them an obvious bullshit pitch. Besides the salesman being sleazy and what we just said about the table with the ivory and the gold. One thing I was thinking about when I was looking at this table was that if they featured an IKEA in the movie Scarface, it looks like a table that Tony Montana would buy and build for cheap,
Sure.
That thing just looks like it should have a mountain of cocaine on it.
Yeah.
Fed up with never getting to make decisions, Jesus has unreasonably decided that this is the hill that he's going to die on and gets the table, much to Maria's irritation and disgust. Back at the apartment, Jesus starts working on building the table when he's visited by Ruth, who is demanding that he leave his wife to be with her, or she'll wreck his marriage anyway. He sends her away, seemingly paying no mind to how seriously wrong this could actually go for him. And then after some more arguing, Maria goes shopping to prepare for a planned visit from Carlos and Christina later. I personally don't ever want to lean on the whole bitchy wife trope, but man, she is so brutally belittling here. Yeah. And honestly, for the rest of the movie. And one thing I kept wondering is why are they together? And did they have this kid to try to save their marriage?
100%.
Yeah, well, if that was the case, I think it's easy to say it failed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they just...
I think it usually that tactic fails, but not so spectacularly.
Yeah, she just wasn't very likable at all. And I think, I don't know, to me, I sort of wish that he had played it more. I think it would have had just that much more impact for me. I think it would have much more impact if they had been more of a loving couple that, hey, we had a rough spot, but we had a miracle because the wife is older than he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noticeably so. And so, this is like her last chance here.
Yeah, I think she says that too, right?
It would have been more impactful if they had been a loving couple more than just a bickering.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think the impact would have been just that, even that much more devastating.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
They do show him being a good father when he is alone with them. Like, he's not upset that the baby's crying. He's like kind of talking, like playfully talking to him.
I mean, he doesn't seem like a bad dude. He just seems like his wife doesn't like him anymore.
Yeah.
You know, which happens sometimes. Sometimes people just grow apart, and it's not really anybody's problem. But then, you know, sometimes somebody's being a dick about it. Like I said, I don't like to lean into the whole bitchy wife trope, but that is very much the trope that they went for here.
Yeah.
While Jesus is trying to stop the baby from crying, somehow the supposedly unbreakable table shatters and decapitates the baby, whose head rolls under a chair. So I did watch this a second time today.
Yeah.
And you were right. You can totally hear the head rolling.
Yeah,
and it
I
come to
didn't notice
stop.
it the first time at all.
What I noticed the second time, you can see it too.
That's what I said. I think you see like just a shadow.
Yeah.
Because it's like the chair's cut off like just on the edge. So you see it kind of going over there, but you don't exactly see what it is.
Yeah, you see like just something rolling in, but also if you look closely, you can see blood splattering behind the chair.
Yeah.
So
And the baby stops. You know, I know it ends.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, you just have
the father. You know, man, just the way he just sat there and the way he bounced back, he brought in the score into it, and he's just
Yeah.
the cover of the DVD is perfect. It's absolutely shattering. It's a really when the scene happens, it's really it's not over in 30 seconds.
No.
Yeah.
I think he spends 3 to 4 minutes with the dad looking at what has happened.
Yeah.
They're bouncing back and forth. It really gets into your head right then and there. Like, man, this ain't no Band-Aid wound. You know? This is serious.
Yeah, and I saw a few comments from people talking about how like they don't understand his reaction to this. Well, with the cleaning and doing the diaper and putting
It's just being in shock.
Yeah,
He's absolutely dead. He's shocked.
Yeah,
She's either shocked or like I said, I personally feel like I think he left. I think he snapped.
Yeah.
I think he just, you know, now he's catatonic in a
he's
sense.
just
You know,
going through the motions.
He can't see anything in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, I won't go into, you know, detail about this here, but I have been in shock a couple of times. And like when I look back on what I did and said during that time, it feels insane, you know, but shock does that.
Yeah.
So this was definitely the hardest part of the movie. This and maybe the suicide note recording later.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you can cut if you want, but I'll never forget when you fell down the stairs and broke your arm. Because I was like,
that we can talk about.
Yeah, because I was like, I'm pretty sure you broke your arm. You're like, I didn't break it, I just can't move it.
Yeah, I do remember you yelling, "That means you broke it." Yeah, oh god, that was such a wild experience, and I got to tell you, whenever I look back on it, I can still just crystal clear hear my shoulder snapping.
Yeah.
Which at the time I thought was either my cell phone or the Nintendo DS in my pocket. It was not. They were both fine.
Yeah. Yeah, he fell down the stairs and hit his shoulder into a corner of a wall.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
You know what? There's not even like a good story behind it. So this was back when Jess and I were roommates. We were roommates for like 5 years, at the end of which we both found our now spouses. Mm-hmm. I wasn't even like drunk or anything like that. I was just getting ready for work, and we happened to have a staircase that we had kind of joked about how it was a death trap staircase many times because there was this weird curve at the top.
Yeah.
And my foot just was an inch in the wrong direction.
Yeah, you said you stepped over a step.
Yeah. And I just, I tumbled once, and I was weirdly able to right myself. But then at the bottom of the staircase, I came flying out and basically tackled the doorway into the game room. And that is where my shoulder snapped. And,
I'm sure that was not fun.
It wasn't. And then spending the next I think 2 months with my arm just strapped to my chest.
Yeah.
While Jessica's very heavy cat Taco kept trying to help me by he would, you know, cats can be really sweet, and there's this thing where, you know, their purring seemingly has healing properties. Taco was a big heavy cat though.
He's 22 pounds.
Yeah. Every time he saw me, he would try to climb up on my shoulder so he could purr on it. He was
sweet, but
super sweet. You know,
Was Taco orange?
No, he was a gray tabby.
Yeah. Ironically enough, she also had a cat named Tofu who was orange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See? How long did it take you for your shoulder to heal? The average 3 months, or the cat powered 2 months?
Well, one could argue that it's not healed yet. And this was 10 years ago now, which is crazy to think
still
about.
mostly healed in like a couple months.
It's as far as the healing process goes, the main healing process goes, it was only like, I only had to have my arm strapped up for like 6 weeks, I think. And then I just had to be really gentle with it for a little while. But it still hurts every day. So
I thought they said it wasn't related. It was something else.
Oh, I'm sure. Did you break a collarbone?
it was my rotator cuff.
Oh, yeah, you're shot.
Anyway, but yeah, that was a good time. But man, Taco, I miss that cat. He's such a jerk.
Shout out to Taco.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good cat. Tons of personality.
Yeah.
Also, his name was very appropriate because he wouldn't shut up ever.
Yeah. So I'm like, talk.
Yeah, yeah. He would follow you around the house, just telling you about his day. Be like, meow, 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 meow.
Yeah, just nonstop.
Yeah.
Very cute, but also very annoying.
Oh, he learned how to tell Jessica no, which was very funny. She'd yell at him to get off of the table or whatever, and he'd look at her and go, meow.
Yeah, it was very funny.
Well, he's just lucky. He's just lucky that he wasn't around for the coffee table.
Yeah.
It changed his tune a little bit.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Jesus, obviously in shock, cleans up the blood as best he can and lays the baby's headless body in the crib. He is unable to bring himself to retrieve the head from under the chair, though. Maria gets home and finds it absolutely hilarious that the table has broken. She laughs about this for like the next 10 minutes of the movie.
To be honest, like if there was a situation like this, I probably also would laugh.
I think I would laugh a little bit, but once I noticed the amount of blood,
yeah,
I would be really suspicious because I know that blood can be deceptive, but there's a lot of goddamn blood, and all he cut was his hand.
Yeah.
But I will say this, though. One thing I did notice on this second watch through that I almost never see in movies, the blood that he had all over him and on some of the furniture later in the movie is actually brown and looks like real blood.
Oh, like it's drying.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which is something that you never really see in movies. So I thought that was pretty cool. So props to them for that. But yeah, Maria's such a dick about this.
Thanks for joining us here at the Streaming Screams podcast. Please follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and YouTube at Streaming Screams Pod.
You can also find us on TikTok and Blue Sky at Screams Pod.
Every follow, like, thumb, rating, review, subscription, and share all help us out a lot with all the algorithm shit.
So if you like what we're doing, please rate us wherever you get your podcasts, like our posts, all that other good internet bullshit. And again, thank you for listening to
the Streaming Screams Podcast.
Despite being in shock, Jesus is able to continuously keep Maria from seeing the baby and gives excuses for the blood that still remains there. To me, this is where the comedy aspect really kicked in, and it becomes just the classic comedy bit of somebody trying to hold a secret that a bunch of other people are just on the verge of finding. It also really reminds, I don't know why, but this movie really reminded me as a whole of the Antonio Banderas room from 4 Rooms with the kids and the dead prostitute, which great movie, 4 Rooms, if you haven't seen it. It's got kids and a dead prostitute and witches. Can't go wrong. But yeah, his wound isn't that bad. I don't know how she believes that this is all
He
his
was
blood.
pulling like glass like out of his hand.
Yeah, but I mean, he was bandaged. Like the blood wasn't even soaked through the bandage, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's no way it's splattered all over the couch. I mean, all over the whole room.
Right.
Carlos and Christine arrive for their visit, and everyone notes that Jesus is behaving erratically and can't figure out why. This kind of comes to a head at lunch when they deliver the news of the pregnancy, and Jesus says that he doesn't care that Carlos got some poor 18-year-old pregnant and that Carlos has ruined both of their lives, and to Maria's confusion, says that buying the coffee table was the worst mistake of his life.
See, I wonder if like during any part of this movie, she's like is kind of figuring out what's going on. Because like, you know, you can't be that delusional.
You can't be this oblivious, right?
Yeah. And she does when they're arguing at the table, like the way she's getting so upset is like, is she realizing not exactly what happened, but that something happened?
I think that
she should have been upset more as she would have been curiosity, because it's like, you marry this guy, you know his tendencies, you know he likes his brother, so why all of a sudden he's acting like a dick toward him? I mean, this is sort of like really different. It's not like, and if if she had actually thought about it for a minute, the thing you're sitting there when you're watching him go is he's trying to get him out the door. He's trying to get him out.
Yeah.
He's trying to. The more people in the apartment, the chances are greater that someone's going to discover what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just trying to. That's the question. I think that really is the soul shattering question. Is how would you explain that?
Yeah.
How would you tell your spouse what happened? There's just no good answer. There's an accident.
Yeah. That's not really cutting it. Or maybe it is.
I have a feeling that if it were me, I would either just be sitting there catatonic until it was discovered. I mean, there is no good way to handle it.
Yeah.
I understand his reaction at this point, where basically preferring to die rather than face Maria once she finds out about the baby, Jesus excuses himself to the bathroom and records a suicide note. But Carlos...
I don't blame him at all for that.
No.
Yeah, I would like to think that I wouldn't go that route, but...
You can't stand to face her.
Yeah, I mean, how could you?
Yeah.
And he, despite the obvious problems that they're having, he still clearly loves her.
Yeah.
This was actually, for me, the most gut-wrenching part when he says something along the lines of, how could I tell you this and watch you sit there and cry inconsolably? I can't experience it. I would rather die.
Yeah.
Yeah, really brutal. But yeah, Carlos comes in and hears him. Jesus has no choice but to show Carlos the baby's body, and they decide to go ahead and face the music together.
I mean, you have to eventually.
Right.
I know that he's not thinking this far, but it is like, so what is your plan here? Like, you can't avoid it forever.
I think a sane person would have came up with a plan, but since we already know that he's anything but that,
Yeah.
It's almost this like primeval, survival mode. Like, how do I survive this? How do I make this? How do I deal with this?
Yeah.
And still stay here. He had to know that as soon as his wife was found out, that's the reason why he did the suicide note. He knew that there's no way he was going to escape that room tonight to talk about anybody that could. I mean, you think about it, going like, what if he did everything the right way? What if that had happened? And he did call 911, and he did call his wife, and guess what? He's still right where he's at.
Yeah.
He's not going anywhere. He's even if the cops come over there and say, okay, we see what happened here, his wife comes and just, absolutely, she blames him. How did that happen? And, I told you about the table. I mean, he's just fucked either way, coming and going.
Yeah, you can't unring a bell once it's rung.
He's screwed because of a screw.
It's... It is
screwed up.
Yeah.
It is really wild whenever you think about how it's kind of unlikely, but your whole life can be changed and ruined in 1 second from one dumb thing.
Yeah.
It's kind of the same thing I was thinking about the first time we saw Hereditary.
Oh,
just like that one moment, if anything had gone differently.
Yeah.
But you can't take it back.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you. Let me just go back. You're talking about your shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
You could. I bet you could tell me right now. You said it was 10 years ago.
Yep.
And you just did that right now. You told us exactly what happened in the order of sequence, how it happened, and what you felt, and the emotions you felt when you were falling. You remember all that 10 years ago to the T.
Yeah.
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 You know when your life changed. I'm the same way. I could walk you over to a spot, 2 houses down from me. I could put you right there when my life changed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's amazing how people can remember that. Can't remember what 2 + 2 is, but when it comes down to a life-altering, shattering event like that, I think we all remember what we were doing.
Yeah.
At the same time. You hear people talk about 9/11 that way. They can't remember anything from yesterday, but talk to them about 9/11. Oh my gosh, they'll tell you exactly what they're doing, how they're doing it, what they bought, who they talked to. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Trauma is a bizarre thing, and it's in particular, like, just not to turn this whole show into about my shoulder. It is wild to me that I can't remember what I ate for breakfast today.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you said, I can tell you in detail what happened in that moment. But funny enough, there was a lot going on that I know that I said and did that was completely unreasonable.
Yeah.
I didn't break my shoulder, I didn't break my arm. I just can't move it.
Yeah.
Well, fucking duh. Or when you called your brother to take me to the hospital, and I was like, "Oh, don't do that. Don't bother your brother."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to go to work. I couldn't miss work, so I was like,
Yeah. I put us in a weird situation that morning.
Had you ever heard of a rotator cuff injury?
No. I didn't know anything about rotator cuff injuries. Since then, I have noticed that they tend to happen in sports and all of that a lot. But
yeah.
I don't like really watch sports, so I wouldn't have known that beforehand.
We have retail too. Retail. My good friend Steve, he blew out his rotator cuff too. I was like, oh my gosh. He says, what? He says, well, it's going to be at least a minimum of a year to 18 months before you get your arm back. And even then, it's going to be like 5 pounds at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
How long it takes you. Yeah. You're not going to get out there 6 months later, go out there and start throwing a ball around or lifting things. You're done for 12 to 18 months.
yeah.
Yep.
And you sit there and you just dwell on that, and it's like, that's all. I'm really screwed.
Yeah, I think there were a few times I had to ask Jess to like carry some shit for me.
Yeah, sure.
Like even when I was out of the brace and all of that, and it'd be like, this thing requires 2 arms. Can you get it for me? So they are coming to face the music finally, but again, this is where the comedic aspect.
So also in this scene, she comes in when they're talking in the bedroom, and she says, "I have to breastfeed in 10 minutes," and there's only 10 minutes left of the movie when they say that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like down to the T that is 10 minutes when she says that.
The last 10 minutes are real time.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. This is, again, where the comedy sort of ratchets up, even if it doesn't feel like it, because now Ruth shows up with her shitty little dog. The dog's probably fine. Fuck that dog. I'm gonna cut all of those out. I love dogs. I can't be heard saying that. Ruth shows up with her dog, and you know where this is going. She tells Maria that Jesus kissed her in the elevator, which we know for a fact from an earlier scene is not true, because they do recount the actual incident together.
Yeah.
But man, what a shitty kid.
Yeah. She's scary.
Yeah.
The whole situation's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
I think the reason why this movie works as well as it does is because it could happen.
It could. Yeah.
Yeah. Everything
very, very much real. Everything there could happen, you know, and that's what makes it really haunting. It's like it's just a guy and a wife, and trying to live their best lives, and all of a sudden this bullshit happens,
Yeah.
The dad's not, Jesus. He's not looking to burn that girl. He understands her, but he's not looking to burn her. He's not looking to tell her mom, "Hey, your daughter is talking very inappropriately to me." Yeah. As a matter of fact, you are as well. You wouldn't be talking to me if my wife was here, like this.
Yeah. Why does everybody want to bang this guy so badly?
It is a weird element of the movie that literally everybody's like, hey.
Yeah.
Not me. Why? I'm up. I'm up right now, but I'll be down in a few minutes.
Yeah, but this is the point where the tension really boils over and everybody's kind of yelling at each other. And before Carlos and Jesus can stop it from happening, the dog gets the baby's head out from under the chair. Carlos tries to keep Maria from seeing it, but it is too late and he can't stop it now. So just something that I noted, this might be because I am an American and don't know and am not super familiar with Spanish culture or European culture as a whole. Mm-hmm. The music choice for this moment to me was really weird. The music that kicks in in this scene is basically that of a spaghetti western.
Oh, right.
And I don't know if that's, which I know spaghetti western. I know Ennio Morricone. Yeah. I've been idolizing this man for like 30 years and I'm going to still not know his name. But yeah, I know that a lot of the music from spaghetti westerns, in particular that of Ennio Morricone, did have a lot of Spanish influence, which is what gives it that distinctive guitar sound and that distinctive feel. But it was just really wild at this moment to have that shootout at high noon music kick in while everybody is realizing what happened. And, one girl's throwing up and the mother is is just, completely breaking as a person. And both of the men are crying. And interesting choice. I would love to know. I would love to talk to the music supervisor just so I could ask that, like, why that song?
Yeah.
But yeah, this is basically the end. Maria jumps from the balcony, followed soon by Jesus. Carlos is taken away by the police, basically catatonic and unable to say anything besides the coffee table. Yeah. And then we get like the only shot of this family that seems like them being a family on the streets. Their ghost, just a memory. Yeah. But it's them, the baby, and the coffee table. Yeah. Wild movie. Absolutely wild.
That's definitely a keeper. Hats off to the distributor that was a Cinephobia releasing. I'm not sure how many people, I know a lot of boutique buyers out there collecting physical media and what have you, and they don't really know about it. But I've known the distributor of Cinephobia for quite a while. And not only did The Coffee Table was the #1 film for me last year, but I've also had, one's not here, but I've also had 2 other films from Raymond off his other label he had called Art Exploitation. He ran that and then he sold it to Kino Lorber, and then he restarted again. He started with Cinephobia releasing, but I got Molly and we is definitely on the same level as The Coffee Table. It is a mind screw. This is a brilliant movie. I have one.
What was that called?
Here. My #1 movie from last year was called Brightwood, which is another fantastic film. Raymond Murray, shout out to Raymond too. I don't know how, or it just amazes me that he finds movies like this and he brings them to the public. It's amazing. And I just heard this week that they're going to remake this movie. They're going to remake The Coffee Table.
Really?
For Turkey.
Huh.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not in the United States. You just thinking God that no one in their right, no one's in their minds going to go, hey, we could remake this for the American audience.
Oh my God.
You can't.
I think this might be a little too extreme for us Yanks.
Yeah.
They can't. Well, American filmmakers, they always pull the punches. If you really think of some of the really impactful movies that have been remade, movies like Martyrs or Inside, or
what are the one they just did?
Huh?
There was the movie that they just remade.
Speak No Evil.
Yeah, and I haven't seen it, but I hear they completely changed the ending.
They did.
Oh, I haven't seen either one. Did they wuss the ending up?
That's what I hear.
Boo.
I want to check it out just to see, but
yeah,
because it's another case where I hate where they remake movies where it's like it just came out like a year or 2 ago, and the original one is mostly in English. So why did it need to be remade?
Yeah, because apparently the American audience can't handle a good horror.
They can't. I mean, there's some movies. That thank God they won't try. Like they won't try to do Irreversible.
Right.
You know, they won't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, we got that one right. And they won't do Martyrs, and they won't do Inside. You know, or they did try to do Martyrs, but it's god awful. They try to do with Inside, god awful. And there's been other remakes that they've tried to do, and it just doesn't work. Because because you're right, we do have our limitations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people. If you look at a Serbian film.
Yeah.
Or the Human Centipede.
I mean, the Human Centipede, I don't think is even that bad, honestly. Like, there's
the first one.
There's a solid gross 5 minutes in that movie, but most of it is just this guy terrorizing the people with what he's going to do to them, you know?
I tell you what, that doctor, it's interesting because to me, like, I avoided that film for a long time until finally we covered it. Me and some friends, we started the show, the IFC Midnight Show, and I watched it for the first time, and I got to tell you, that is some disturbing shit. I mean, it's not on the same level as the coffee table, but at least it's in the same zip code. As far as that goes. And it was very disturbing to see as well. And I think what really got me more upset than anything else was after watching that movie and seeing what they went through, I was just more pissed off to the fact that it ruined Silence of the Lambs for me. Because I'm watching the Human Centipede and I'm going like, yeah, Lecter's badass, but he ain't that. He ain't doing that. He ain't putting somebody's mouth to somebody's ass.
That concept just really messes with people.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's fucking gross, man.
I think what's worse is like that they both die and the girl is just left there.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what we talked about that at the end too. It's like, man, that's about as brutal as a death you'll ever want to see on screen.
Well, yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah, we've seen some pretty brutal deaths on screen, but that
would be horrific. And the first one and the second one, were both impactful, but American audiences, man, they just, they just have a hard time accepting that sort of thing,
Well, we might be getting better about it. I think that there is some of the movies that we have seen especially in theaters in recent days, have really given me some hope that we're going to become more accepting of disturbing or fucked up horror. I never once in my life thought I would see anything nearly as gory as Terrifier 2 or Terrifier 3 in a theater.
Yeah.
But we were in a packed theater for both of them.
Yeah.
I would never expect something as, it's not gory, but something as bonkers and weird as The Substance to become as acclaimed as it is in America.
Yeah.
So
see, I think Terrifier, 2 and 3. I think what it just went over the top.
Yeah.
It went way over the top, and it's just like, okay, talk about a dark comedy. There you go.
Yeah.
Terrifier 2 and 3. Oh, the scene with the bleach and the salt. Okay, yeah, yes, but think about that. I mean, it's like. It's how long it takes for that that sort of thing and I just tell people, I don't think I can handle Art the Clown. I just can't handle them. But I just tell people, I swear I tell them, I said, well, if it makes you feel any better to know this, but Art the Clown is a cat lover.
Yeah.
He's a cat lover. If you go back to the first, and I asked David Howard Thornton, I said, does Art like cats? And he absolutely loves cats.
Yeah.
That takes the whole impact of Terrifier. That just dilutes it, because now you're sitting there with a half a smile on your face because you're going like, okay, so he's killing somebody, but who hasn't seen that already before, like 20,000 times, right? I mean, I'll be shocked if Scream 7, if Ghostface isn't Art the Clown.
Yeah.
But I'm sitting here with a half mile on my face watching Art do his thing, knowing on the other half of my brain that I'm laughing my ass off because he's a cat lover.
Yeah. I'm also interested because David Howard Thornton has said that they already know the day job that Art had, and that's good. What was this guy doing as a job?
Clown.
No.
No, I'm sure not.
But he says they're going to reveal it at some point.
Yeah, he's saying that.
I was gonna say he worked at a pet store or animal shelter or something.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that, but yeah, I know
he's like a rescuer of some sort.
I mean, so Damien Leone, I don't know how serious to take this because he said this about Terrifier 3 as well, but supposedly this Terrifier 4 is going to reveal the backstory and will be the last one.
Right.
Yeah, he needs to get off. He needs to get off the pot for that before he drives it into the ground.
That's what. Yeah, that's what he said.
Wants to, yeah,
but he said that he would sell the rights though.
Well,
he just doesn't want to make any more.
I just like to think, like what I really liked about this movie too is like it gives us a whole brand new. Like I didn't know any of the actors that were in the coffee table.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I'll sit there and tell you about Xenophobia too. And this is what's so cool about it was Xenophobia. I mean, I had seen a few horror films, a few foreign films as well. But Xenophobia and art exploitation, what's really cool is that they go around to all these countries around the world. And my first time I ever saw an Argentinian horror film was Luciferina. Until I saw When Evil Lurks.
Yeah.
And I'm going like, oh yeah, because I'm sitting there going like, whenever I talked about Luciferina, I go like, the Argentinians, man, they can make a movie. Let me tell you, they're not known for the horror movies, but they can bring the fire.
Honestly, the guy that directed When Evil Lurks
because he also did Terrified.
Yeah, not Terrifier, but Terrified. Honestly, after watching both of those movies, I think just him, he could single-handedly make Argentina the next, big
horror craze.
Yeah. It could be the next Japanese horror, the next French extreme. French extremity.
Yeah,
extreme?
French extreme.
Yeah.
I know this is slightly off topic. I'm just curious to see what you guys thought about this, but what did you think of When Evil Lurks?
I loved it.
I did too. But why did you love it? What was in there that you hadn't seen before?
Well,
I really liked the fact that they have all these rules to like stop or at least prevent what's going on, but nobody follows them, and they all state that they know the rules.
Yeah,
but then nobody's following.
And it's weirdly
they ignore all the women
too,
and the women are like, "Hey, don't do this." And then the men just do it anyways.
Yeah, and it's weird. Like that element adds like a certain amount of realism because I could 100% see people doing this shit. Some landlord doesn't want an infected person on their property, so instead of going about dealing with things the right way, he just throws them in a truck and plans to dump him 100 miles away. I could totally see that.
Yeah.
Big emergency situation where a couple of guys are trying to deal with it and all the women around them keep telling them exactly what to do, and they're like, no, I'm gonna do what I want, and everything just gets worse. Could 100% see it. I also really liked the new approach to possession in that movie, treating it as like an epidemic.
Like it spreads.
Yeah, it spreads like a disease, and there are very disease-like rules to how it spreads. I also really did like the characters, even though they were idiots. The main guy somehow deciding that he's going to go to his ex-wife's house and just get naked in her living room despite knowing that he shouldn't bring his clothes in there.
Yeah.
I could absolutely see people doing that. And also it's just got this really cool Western feel to it that I really appreciate because I love a good Western.
To me, it felt like a dark fantasy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It did not feel like it was on our planet. It felt like it was like a fairy tale.
Right.
This wasn't happening here. It was happening like in a alternate planet, an alternate Earth.
Yeah.
It didn't feel, and I just thought I loved the fantasy aspect of it.
I like that, like, you don't get too much information about it, but we know that, like, religion doesn't exist anymore, at least not in the same way.
Yeah.
There was something that happened so that there's no like organized religion anymore, and I'm like, I want to know more about that.
Yeah, but at the same time, I really like that they don't explain any of this or don't really give all these backstories. Because they wouldn't have to,
because these people live in that world.
Right.
It would just be exposition for us, so they don't do that.
Yeah, and it's not forced. For me, whenever there's a big exposition dump, and this is why I always mention this scene as an exposition dump, is because it always takes me right out of the movie. Whenever that happens, I always have this moment of like, oh, they're talking to me, not each other.
Yeah. Well, it's the whole thing of show, don't tell.
Yeah. And I don't need everything to be explained. It was the same thing that I really loved in the first John Wick movie. There's all these rules. Everyone seems to know them. Everyone's going by them, but they don't need to tell them to us. They just need... We get that this is the situation because of how they behave.
Yeah.
And that's all we need. Yeah, going back to this movie, though. Really funny, but in this way that I don't think would have been funny if I didn't know they had labeled it a comedy. Not for the faint of heart.
Yeah. I'm interested to see what his other movie is, because that's also listed as a dark comedy.
What's the other movie called? Do you know?
Killing God.
Oh, right. We talked about that.
Yeah, and it has the same main actor, and the salesman guy's in it also.
Oh God.
I think they're just friends.
I tried. I did. Every time I told somebody about this movie, I would sit there and say, "This is the type of movie that you'll watch. It's brilliant. It's absolutely fucking brilliant. But it's not a movie I necessarily, you're not going to go back to it.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not gonna like, hey, it's a beautiful summer day.
Yeah.
I got 1,000 movies on my shelf. Let's watch The Coffee Table.
Yeah, not a comfort watch.
Yeah. This will be the exact opposite of what we were talking about in the Christine episode, where that movie I watch like several times a year because I watch it every time I get sick. This movie I will never probably watch again, and that's okay. You only need to experience it once.
Yeah. It's beautifully shot too.
Oh yeah.
Like it looks amazing.
It is. And they
do such a good job considering the subject matter of like you don't ever really see anything.
Yeah, you see just enough to know that head is under that chair, but you don't actually ever see the head.
Yeah.
Really well done movie. Yeah, thank you very much for bringing this one to our attention. It was quite an experience. Yeah. I'm glad we got to watch it, and I'm really glad that we got to get you on the show to talk about it with us.
I had a great time.
Yeah, it was fun. Hopefully we can figure out another thing that we can all do in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Patrick, I want to thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Real quick, why don't you go ahead and plug your stuff for our listeners?
Okay. I have an interview series called 8 Questions With. I interview people from all over the world, and could be anybody from anywhere with their story. I just want to hear it. Normally I'm on Thursday, but I was off because I wouldn't come do this show. Next week on the 19th, we have Don Watt will be with us. He is a Emmy Award producer. We made a beautiful documentary, When We Dance. He'll be here on 8 o'clock. He'll be here on the 19th. On the 20th, we have actress Leslie Iverson from American Trash, which she co-stars with Robert Lasardo. I've seen the American Trash. It is a gritty Tarantino-like movie. It's dark and bleak, but it's also brilliant. She'll be here on the 20th. On the 23rd, I just mentioned that. I'm sorry, on the 22nd, I just mentioned that. And then next 26th, we have Patrick Farley will be with us, and he's an action adventure star that has founded a franchise called the Fatal Encounter franchise. And we'll talk about why it's so hard for American studios to give us the next action adventure hero.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah. And then where should people go to find your channel?
I'm on YouTube, and that is Have Cheetah Will View. And as soon as you go over there, we have all our interviews up. We also do reviews as well. We have a review called Dollar Theater, where we watch and review anything underneath $1.25.
Oh, nice.
That's great. Yeah. I like that. Yeah.
So we have a lot of fun with that as well. And then we have Dollar Theater, the Voters Edition, where people vote which movie me and the Cheetah watch and review. And this week we're doing our very first Criterion week.
Oh,
so
nice.
I got 4 criterions for $1.25 or less.
Nice.
We're
doing that this week as well.
Right on. Patrick, I want to thank you very much for joining us. This has been a lot of fun, and can't wait to see how our paths cross again in the future.
I'll definitely bring you aboard. I definitely want to do a we're trying to get Clash of the Titans up to a couple of times a month.
Nice.
And I think that would be a lot of fun.
Sure, we'll definitely hop on one of those.
Especially 2 podcasts going nose to nose. I think that really intrigues me.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, I think that is it for Streaming Screams. Thank everyone for listening. Thank you, Patrick, for joining us. And we will see you all later. Or,
Bye.
hear you later. You'll hear us later.
Yep.
Something will happen later. All right, I'm just going to awkwardly cut everything off now.
All right. Bye.
Later. All right. Well, while we had our distinguished guest, we forgot to do the part of the show where we recommend the movie to people who would probably like it. So unfortunately, it's just going to be the 2 of us, but that is okay. Jessica, who would you recommend this for?
Anyone who likes dark humor and is okay with children's deaths. I know that's because that cuts off a bunch of people.
Yeah. Well, that's, I don't necessarily feel like trigger warnings are required for everything, but there's a few things that I think that we should generally include, and that's one of them.
Well, because it's not just a kid.
It's a baby.
It's like
it's a newborn. Yeah. I would recommend it to anyone who has a strong constitution for horror that is emotionally brutal.
Yeah.
And if you're not totally offended and disgusted by the idea of making a comedy out of a horror that is emotionally brutal.
Right.
But yeah, this isn't like a gore heavy deal, but it is a gut punch for sure.
Yep.
And finally, The Coffee Table is available to stream with a subscription to AMC Plus. Just watch Canopy, Philo, or Shudder. It is also available to rent or buy at Amazon, Apple TV, or Fandango at home. All right, groovy. That's about it.